So great to have you with us. We're live worldwide on the Jim Masters Show Live, entertainment, lifestyle, celebrity talk show series, where we're bringing back the lost art of conversation and style with guests coming in from all around the world: Hollywood, television, Broadway, stage, comedy, inspiration, food, you name it, music, all of it, film. And they're all here for you. And we're so excited to have you here. We thank you very much for the love and support of our series with the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of episodes that we have now archived in the bank for all of you to binge, watch, and enjoy. And thanks for all the love and support, all the texts, the emails, the private messages, everything on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Jim Masters TV. We love it, and we love all of you. Somebody else we love is back. Yes, on our show, and we're so excited to have her here. She's fresh off the heels of being in Paris. I am talking about the incomparable Alison Arngrim. Yes, I know you guys are very excited. This is her return visit to Levity Hall and the Jim Masters Show Live. Of course, everybody knows that she starred on this epic, beloved series on NBC, Little House on the Prairie, as the wonderfully pleasant Nellie Oleson. Wait, is that right? Do I have that right? Is that? Of course, the incomparable Alison is here. Yeah, wonderfully pleasant. Yes. Look at those eyes. Do you know that backstage, when she and I were chatting, she went right up to the camera when we were testing audio and she gave me those eyes? That means she loves you when she gives you those eyes. There, of course, when she played a Nellie, which was an iconic character for all the time there on that beloved series. And truly, 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 one of those characters that has remained in the hearts and minds of many for decades. And you know, what's really amazing, and Alison will tell you about it, during the pandemic, we always whisper that because we don't want YouTube to go crazy. Little House on the Prairie, I mean, it was always popular around the world, but the resurgence in popularity, people home baking sourdough bread and doing everything that they've been doing. And of course, look at that. That's not perfect. They sort of went back to the nostalgic shows. You know, they were watching Little House on the Prairie, I, Jimmy Jeannie, Bewitched, I Love Lucy, Dick Van Dyke. I mean, all of the classics, and Little House on the Prairie just whoosh. And you know what's exciting too? We are on the heels of the 50th anniversary of this iconic television series. The 50th anniversary is coming up. So there are a lot of incredible things planned, a lot of major things that are planned as well, that she is going to truly be in the thick of. So she's like, oh my God, Jim, look at that photo. She's saying, I am going to really be in the thick of it. And she is. And, you know, during the time when people were home, doing what they had to do to get by, she became inventive and she read all the books. And she did it with the bonnet. Of course, I know several of you, when I told you that she was coming back on the show, you actually have ordered her bonnets. You're collecting the bonnets. We'll tell you about that as well. But she actually read all the books too on Facebook, which is absolutely fantastic. I think it's really, really cool. And of course, Halloween at the time of this broadcast was this week. And we dug this up. She was perfectly attired to transition from Nellie Oleson to boom. How cool is that? Not everybody can make that kind of a face. It's absolutely fantastic. She's also a brilliant actress too. You know, she's acted in so many other things separate from Little House on the Prairie. And, you know, we'll talk about some of that as well. But we're also going to talk about this really cool book, Confessions of a... Now hide the children and the cat. Confessions of a Prairie Bitch. Yes, how she survived Nellie Oleson. And we're going to talk about this. This is really cool. It's a great read. And you can get it on Amazon. Again, I'm going to detail it all for you as well. It's really something special. But I just want to tell you a little bit more about some of the cool things. She's also going to, as I mentioned, update us on the, she survived the bed bug outbreak that happened in Paris. Should tell us about that in just a second. The book, Confessions of a Prairie Bitch, biatch, whatever you'd like to call it, folks. It's totally up to you. You can, morph it if you want, but that's what it is. And it's an incredible book and it's a great read. Confessions of a Prairie Bitch is Alison Arngrim's comic memoir of growing up as one of television's most memorable characters, the devious Nellie Oleson. Yes. And it's really it's a loving tale, but it's open and it's the real thing. The devious Nellie Oleson on, of course, the hit television show Little House on the Prairie. Now, the book has behind-the-scenes stories from the set, as well as tales from her bohemian upbringing. She was born in Queens, New York. We were just talking about our New York connections, the energy and passion of New York. But she was raised in West Hollywood, California. And her headline-making advocacy work on behalf of HIV awareness, everybody knows about, and it's been something that's been a labor of love for her, and as well abused children, and that's all talked about. Confessions of a Prairie Bitch is a must for fans of everything Little House, the classic television series, and its many stars: Michael Landon, Melissa Gilbert, and of course Gilbert's best-selling memoir Prairie Tale, and of course the beloved series of books by Laura Ingalls Wilder that started it all. As I mentioned, she is best known, of course, for playing the acid-tongued Hellcat for 7 years on TV's Little House on the Prairie. And she's gone on to many successes in many areas of life as well. And she's remained a centerpiece of her public acclaim. Even now, strangers, she says, sometimes shy away from her until they realize she's not going to hurt them. Don't judge by the picture you're looking at. And she's really amazing. She's also a phenomenal stand-up comedian as well. Yep, she sure is. And she's hilariously funny. We'll talk about some of that as well. You might have seen her in other television series, classics like The Love Boat and Fantasy Island as well, and so much more. So we're excited to have her here on the show. We're going to catch up on everything since we chatted last. And let's welcome our illustrious guest from her version of the Prairie, Alison Arngrim. Welcome back.
Thank you. Such an introduction. Oh, my.
How are you, my friend? It's so good to see you here. And you look...
I'm very good.
You look rested since your...
We were cracking up backstage because I said, you see, you're younger. People say, "Oh, you look beautiful. Oh, you're pretty. You get to be my age," and they go, "You look rested." It's like a miracle that I'm standing up and haven't fallen, broken a hip, or gone to the nursing home.
Well, I think the word I used
was
spry.
Spry. There you go. Oh no, wait! I'm 5 years away from spry. I hit rested. In 5 more years, it'll be she's spry, feisty for her age. Holy moly! But yeah, that's what blows my mind. I do all this stuff. I was just in France. I went in September, so I went to Oklahoma with the cast of the show. We did a whole thing in Pahaska because the prairie rains in these places, and so a bunch of us from the show went. And then I went to Utah and made a movie because. Wonderfully, if you are an independent film producer and you are under a certain budget and you call up the union and say, "I'm an independent and I'll sign anything you want. I'll sign the interim agreement. Let's do it, man." And you sign that interim agreement, SAG will say, "Yes, please go ahead and make your movie." Which I said it's always very funny that the teeny tiny little producers with so little money are signing the agreement, agreeing to what the giant multi-billion-dollar studios are going, "No, we can't possibly sign that." So I was like, wait a minute. So it's wonderful producer. She signed it. And so I went and shot a movie in Utah, turned right around, came back, went to New York, did my one-woman show at the fabulous Laurie Beachman Theater on 42nd Street, and went over to Rochester to Theater and Innovation Square, and then did you know you can book a flight from Rochester to Paris? I did not know this.
I didn't realize
you can book a flight from Rochester, but you do change at JFK. And I went to Paris and then went literally by train, like there's a little map of France, all over the country, doing a show, a whole French review. It's all about the 1980s. It's all about game shows and music and TV shows and everything that happened in the 80s, and it's all in French, and it's hysterical.
That's so cool, huh? Wow. How long were you
I did
there
all that
for?
I was really tired. Like about a month.
You were there for about a month. So I mentioned
Yeah.
you survived the whole bed bug situation there too,
It was,
which is
there
amazing.
wasn't, as I said, what happens is the bed bugs come and go. They said technically there are always kind of bed bugs everywhere in New York. It's just, you hope you get lucky. But when you have a lot of people coming and post 2020, 21, there's like more tourists than ever. And it was Fashion Week. So the whole world had descended upon Paris. So we have a lot of people in a crowded place. The bed bugs are like dinner, and it was nice and warm. And so the bed bugs had just like kind of made a little comeback wave, and which freaked everyone out because it was the middle of Fashion Week and they had all these people in from all over the world with beautiful clothes that they really didn't want to get bed bugs in, and you couldn't put them, say, wash them on hot, put them in the dryer. It's a chiffon ball gown with sequins. It's not going in the, so dry cleaning works too, but it scared people out of their wits. I saw, as I said, 0.0 bed bug. I saw no bed bugs. I was staying in a lot of people's houses and things. There were a couple places like big industrial sites, like had to be shut down, fumigated. Verified they were on the trains and the metro, but they kept showing up with the exterminators and like bed bug sniffing. Do you know this bed bug sniffing dogs? I was like, there's what? There's
Really?
bed bug sniffing dogs. Who knew? And they get, there's no bed bugs on the train. They couldn't find it. So there was an outbreak, but thankfully it did not hit everywhere. It hit certain spots. A couple places really had a time of it. I was spared. I guess I just went to all the right places and I was bed bug free. And I'll tell you, I was paranoid as anything. I mean, I wouldn't sit down. It's like, magnifying flashlight, checking everything before I sat down. But I survived. And there was a brief rail strike, not the usual. And there were all kinds and there were bomb threats and things. And the exciting, like generally, you're in a big city.
Yeah.
Things happen. And I've always had people say, should I go to Paris? Is it rough? I go, well, if you spent time in New York or LA or Chicago or Atlanta, you'll be fine. If you are coming from a very small town and you haven't been to a big city, then you may need to read up, talk to your big city friends about how to be safe in a big city. Basically, be really, really aware of your surroundings. I cross the street. I look left, look right, look up in case someone's dropping something on my head. Look down. Look all ways. But generally, I have not had any problem, and I go all over France, and I have people with me, my team that I do the show with, but I get up in the morning and go all by myself to the train station, jump on that train, and off I go, and I've been fine. So.
That is your exclusive bed bug tip from Alison Arngrim on the Jim Masters show. She's always full of tips and useful tips. I love that.
Hot laundry or dry cleaning. The problem is bed bug. Scary thing about bed bugs, they can live for a while without a host. That's the problem. There's other bugs. It's like, just leave your bedroom alone for 2 days. They'll all drop dead with no. Here's a really creepy thing I found out. Do you know that cockroaches eat bed bugs? Oh, no. They said if you have cockroaches, you probably don't have bed bugs. And one of the reasons they had a bed bug outbreak is they've been really good about cleaning everything up and getting rid of all the cockroaches. Like nobody has cockroaches in Paris anymore. So no.
Bed bug outbreak. Try to say that 5 times.
You want cockroaches? You want bed bugs? What do you want? You choose. They're.
So you have been quite busy since we chatted last. That's fantastic.
I have.
You're always on the run, right?
I am. I'm a working fool. And that's the thing you get. I think in Hollywood, as soon as you get past 50, especially for women, people are like, are you still working? And with this ex child performers, people are like, you still do? And I'm like, girl, I'm turning down work. It is all I can do to like get a couple days off and catch up on sleep.
50 age or 50 grand?
Yeah, right. There you go. Is 50 grand like is that the FU money that you can stop? I am gainfully employed. I am not retired. In fact, I'm thinking of calling next year my "If I Was French, I'd Be Retired by Now" tour.
I like that
because I'll be 62 in January. Horrifying. I just like, what happened? Where did the time go? Why is it the 50th anniversary of our series? How did that happen? It was like last week, right?
Yeah, right.
I was 12. Where did it all go?
It just went by in a New York minute, didn't it?
It did. It was just boom. 1 minute I was like 14 and wearing a wig, and then I woke up and I was middle aged and still wearing a wig. Oddly, it's I'm all over the place because so I have my stand-up thing, my one-woman show, and I have things where I go places and talk about the book. And then, of course, the show has generated its own like genre of events. These events usually out in small towns in the country where the fans come and meet the cast and get autographs and we talk about stuff. And then the huge events, obviously, for the 50th. And then all these weird things like I do theater and I do independent film and then I do a show in French. So all of this is all happening simultaneously. So it's
Yes.
like I get out the count, it's like, okay, you're here, and then you're gonna fly here, and then and so I've tried to like block out dates in between my gigs to actually rest. Because the back-to-back Oklahoma, Utah, New York, Rochester, France date, yeah, I'm not doing that. That was a bad idea. I was so tired. I was like, okay, that might have been the limit. That might have been it.
That was jet
so
lag.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was jet lag upon lag. And I talked to someone the other day and they said, are you having lunch or is it a midnight snack? And do you know what time is it where you are? So yeah, it is really crazy, but how wonderful when everything between, as we said, 2020 and then the strike and then this, it's so hard for people to get work. And I'm just like employed to the point that I'm going to like keel over. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to clone yourself. But during the
Right.
craziness of everything the last couple of years, you became very crafty and brought out the bonnets and were reading the books. And tell us about that. That was a very cool thing you did.
I did a thing, and it was totally self-preservation on my part. I had boxes and boxes of bonnets and books and photos and merchandise because I was going to a bunch of autograph shows and things. I had bookings, and then the phone rang, and we can't really do that. It's just not safe. Everything is canceled. Everything, literally everything, is canceled. And I went, oh man, what am I going to do? So my husband and I were kind of like, wow, what are we going to do? Because this is very scary. Now my husband got declared essential worker. Bob works for a construction company. They're actually right now building the People Mover at LAX at the airport. He also plays guitar in a band, but the People Mover thing, that's transportation and infrastructure. So they said, oh, you're coming to work. And they said, you can work at home, you can come in. And he said, well, wait, who's going to be here? And they said, pretty much nobody. He said, so if I come to work, it's like me and one other person. And that's like an entire floor of office building. I'm coming in. There's nobody here. It's the safest place in LA. So he had a job. So we're like, okay, that's happening. And he said, what am I going to do? And he said, you'll think of something. So I couldn't think of anything. And then I had been in this fabulous acting workshop where the teacher talked about reading out loud. He said, we don't read out loud enough. And especially for like young actors, he said, read a magazine, read a book, read out loud, read to the cat. It's really good for you and gets you in the right zone with your diction and being able to cold read. Well, that sounds like fun. Maybe I should do that. I said, I should go back and reread the Little House books. I haven't read them in years. I'd read them, but I hadn't read. I'll read them in order. And like as an adult, reading them in order, see how the story develops, how Laura developed the characters. This could be exciting. And I got out the books and then I read, wait a minute, everyone else is home. Everybody else is bored out of their minds.
Sourdough bread.
They're everybody else is sitting at home going, hey, I'll go on Facebook Live and say, hey, are you all home and bored too? Well, I'm going to read these here books. And I said, okay, hi guys, book 1, chapter 1, page 1, Little House in the Big Woods. And hey, I got a bonnet. Check this out. We're going to do this. They went nuts. They were like online ordering the Little House books. They got on my site. I have a store online and started saying I sold out of bonnets. I had to call Walnut Grove, the real Walnut Grove, Minnesota, and order more bonnets. They're handmade. And I couldn't keep bonnets in stock. They couldn't keep bonnets in stock. And so everyone's putting on their bonnet and like reading along. It turned into this thing. And literally every day, usually around 1:30, one woman told me that she and her mother, who were just having a hell of a time during the whole thing, her mother would say, is it Alison 30 yet?
Mm.
And Alison 30 was 1:30. And I'd come out and say, hi, everybody. And I'd have my snacks. I'd have my goldfish and my Coke and everything. We'd have snacks. And we'd talk about what I was eating. Or I'd say, oh, it's National Donut Day. We're going to have donuts now. I'd have snacks. And I'd read. And I read the entire series of 9 books. Then I read books about Laura Ingalls Wilder and biographies about her. I read her daughter Rosa's books. I read books inspired by Laura. Then I read some of the Wizard of Oz, a couple of their books, and I read Anna Green Gables, and then I went back and reread the entire 9-book series. Again, this went on for 2.5 years. I read over 600 times daily, live.
That's incredible, isn't it? That is incredible.
We gave some of the other people from the show turns. Dean Butler took a couple turns because there's a couple chapters that feature Almanzo very heavily, and he's like, can I read that one? I'm like, oh, you're fine, you knock yourself out. So I had breaks. Other cast members would step in and read a chapter or two, and it became a thing. And people said, no, I'm stuck at home. They were like, my job, no, I am not going anywhere. I can't leave. I'm not working from home. I'm stuck. I am so bored, and the anxiety. And they said, no, they said, but every day for an hour, I'm in this other world where Alison's sitting in a chair reading Little House on the Prairie, and it's made people feel so good. I got a certificate from a senator in Sacramento about raising literacy rates and exploring the works of Laura Ingalls Wilder and raising people's morale and it was really nice, and people really enjoyed it. I then said, what do you want? And they said, we want cooking videos. Okay. So I went in the kitchen and made scrambled eggs. I don't know why 5,000 people needed to watch me make scrambled eggs, but apparently they did. And now I have a whole you go on YouTube, it's called Who's Going to Do the Cooking? And I teach people how to really simple, easy stuff. Like my whole thing is, you think you can't cook, you may, and show people how to cook really easy stuff. And I just kept doing crazy things, and then everything was shut down. So I started doing stand-up comedy in my living room. I have a whole backdrop rack here. We put up different backdrops, and there was a whole thing on stage. I just did one on Sunday night. We did Nellie's Scary Prairie Halloween theme show. And we just set it up and run the camera. And so then there's an online show they can go to. We did online autograph shows. We did.
And that was the Halloween wasn't tied into this, was it?
That was actually last year. I did an event where we had a whole Prairie, and we had a Wizard of Oz event, and they said, okay, Charlotte Stewart, who was our Miss Beadle, she was a Glinda, and so I, of course, I was a Wicked Witch of the West, and I said, I'll do it if I can keep the costume.
Yeah.
They said, you knock yourself out, sure. So I kept the costume. They even gave me the makeup, and last Halloween, you bet your boots, I was the Wicked Witch of the West. I got a broom and everything. I was good. I loved it so much. This year I went out to dinner with friends, and I wore my, that I got in France. In France, they have French Disneyland, and their haunted mansion is called Phantom Manor. It's very
You notice how when we talk about France, we all always whisper? France.
Whisper, because they might be listening. Phantom Manor. It's very spooky, and I got this big, beautiful purple and green sweatshirts all in French as Phantom Manor. So that was just my Halloween thing. I was like French Disney. But yeah, I do shows out of the living room. I joined Cameo, where you do hi, happy birthday. Everything. I became. I didn't even know what a Zoom call was. I had done one Facebook Live ever. I had no idea, and I was suddenly on the internet doing all of this crazy stuff.
In it, right?
My interview show, the Alison Arngrim show, I do in UBN. That suddenly became all Zoom internet, and I became queen, talking to a ring light for every day for. And it was and people really liked it. So I said, okay, hi, I'm back. And so they've been asking me to read again. And they're asking for more cooking videos. So I have, I might be finally home for a few days. And around Christmas, I should certainly crank out some decent recipes and pop back up online again.
You come from a very, very talented family, Bohemian parents. Tell us about Yes, very talented folks. Your father, I believe, was on Broadway. Your mother, a phenomenal voiceover actress. She was Casper the Friendly Ghost, right? Davey of Davey and Goliath.
Indeed. I have Casper's behind me.
There's her parents there.
And here's today. Hello. I have Casper's and things. Yeah, my parents met in the theater. My father founded with his friend Stuart a thing called Totem Theater. People who are theater students in Canada have to have like a whole chapter on the Totem Theater. My father started Totem Theater, and my mother showed up early on in this process and said, I know you guys don't know what you're doing as far as keeping the books and finances. I do. So I'll keep you guys financially solvent out of jail, with the IRS, if you give me all the female leads. And they said, done. And so she got all the starring roles and kept the books. So they started this whole partnership, and they got married. And but my parents ran a major theater in Vancouver back in the late 40s, early 50s. It was a huge deal. And then they moved to New York, and my father was on Broadway, and my mother became a huge voiceover person. She was the Friendly Ghost. She was Gumby. She was Davey of Davey and Goliath. There she is with her Casper thing. And she was sweet Polly Purebred, Underdog's
Oh,
girlfriend.
yes, yes.
Where is my Underdog? She was everybody. She was a ton of cartoons, but those were the big ones that she did like all the time for like years.
I mean, what was that like growing up with these things on television, knowing your mother did the voices of these iconic characters? I mean, that
It
had to
was
be an interesting feeling.
And it was crazy because she did some voiceover commercials, like the first Cocoa Puffs commercial before it was
Oh,
the
yeah.
bird. It was a choo-choo train, and that was all her. And Cocoa Puffs, Cocoa Puffs. She was
Yeah.
everybody. And so sometimes I'd be Saturday morning, I'd be flipping channels as a little kid, and I'd go, well, we know this one's mom. I mean, it was Casper, Gumby, it's one's mom. And then sometimes there'd be another cartoon, and a character would suddenly appear, and I go, oh, is that her too? God, she was just all the cartoons. And she was very good about it when she would sometimes walk me to school, and some of the other kids would go, they're really Casper, and she would do the Casper and the Gumby voices for them. They're great delight. And then when I was in my 20s, all the kids were like totally into Gumby and Underdog.
Gumby,
They were like, they
yes.
all wanted her to do the voice. So it became a thing. She always obliged. She liked to do it. She also, if anyone out there is old enough to remember, the first family album with the comedian Von Meter doing JFK, and it was all about
Yeah,
the Kennedy family, very early
right,
on in the world of comedy albums.
right.
My mother was Caroline and John. She was the voice of the little children on in that.
Wow. That's
So
so amazing.
that was a huge hit for her, as you can imagine, and she did a lot. So yeah, she was all the cartoons, and everybody was on TV, and she later did some live action stuff. There was a huge mayonnaise commercial campaign in the 80s. She was Aunt Martha. And then, of course, she was in Big Business with Lily Tomlin and Bette Midler and like all these movies. I mean, she just total working man. And then my father, after doing Broadway, he went into management. Although recently, I have been finding crazy TV clips of my dad. These are these fabulous pictures from the theater when they were super young. I have been finding these wacky TV clips that my father did out of Toronto and New York like 100 years ago when he was on an episode of the Phil Silvers show.
Oh, Phil Silvers, yeah.
And last of the some Hawkeye and the Last of the Mohicans, which was like a Canadian series that absolutely nobody has heard of, and like just all these like weird, and there's video of him doing all these crazy things. I've been finding those, which are really fun. But yeah, so everyone was in show business. I mean, my uncle played concert violin, and everybody did something. And so for me, it was normal in Hollywood for me to audition and have an agent and go to work. I thought that's just what people do. So I started working when I was like 6 years old in
Yeah,
commercials.
yeah.
And so that was really weird. And I actually had a whole career before I was 12. I was on Little House. I did a movie when I was 10. I did a whole bunch of TV shows. And then I wasn't working at 11. And my father, being very realistic and a manager, said, you may not work again, or you may not work till after you're 18. And I knew enough from knowing all these actors that was possible that I might not work again. And then I got Little House. So yeah. So that actually, the series was my comeback. That was my comeback. My first comeback was at 12.
That was the comeback at that age, huh?
I had a career, and I was washed up at 11 and made my comeback at 12. So I'm on my 87th career.
You are on
I
the
think, at this
87th
point.
career.
I've come back so many times. It's like a revolving door.
When this opportunity came your way, and then to take on the role of devious Nellie Oleson, what was that like for you? Did they think that this series would last as long and be as popular?
No, nobody believed it. Nobody believed it. I mean, I'd always liked villains. When I was a little girl, I saw Peter Pan, and I thought Captain Hook was cool and like really funny. So I always enjoyed villains. So that wasn't really a problem for me. But I didn't know I hadn't read the books. I had like no idea what was happening. It was just like yet another audition. As a child, actually go to auditions all the time. You start to lose track. What was that thing I read for? Did I get that? I don't know. And because I had read for it, and they did the pilot, and then these are so it's like. I read for that already. Is there somebody else on that show? Because I'd read for all the parts. And I got there, and the sides. Well, I turned to my father and said, "This girl is." She's a bitch. And my father, like, what are you talking about? And then I read it for him, and he said, "Don't change anything. You go in, you read it like that. Do not touch it. Don't breathe. Don't think about it. Don't do it again." And that was it. And I got it. No one believed it. No one believed it. I can say that back in 74. It was infathomable because if you remember in the early 70s, there were a lot of big Westerns that were hits on TV coming out of the 60s, and they were getting rid of them all on purpose.
Yes.
It was called the deruralization of TV. It was really kind of awful when you think about it. It was the network said, we don't care what you like. We know you like the Beverly Hillbillies and that you like Hee Haw. We know you like all these goofy shows. And we know you like all these Westerns. You love all the Westerns. But the people who are watching these shows don't make enough money to buy cars and dishwashers and washer dryer sets. And we need to sell those. And we need younger people to watch. We need people in the cities to watch. So hence we're going to have all of the superhero shows. We're going to have Batman. We're going to have all the spy shows. We're going to have all the cop shows. We're going to have all these exciting shows with like car chases. And that's what you saw happen in the 70s. It all started to switch over. And in the middle of this, as they're axing every show with a horse in it, Michael Landon comes along and goes, guess what I want to do? And what are they going to do? Because obviously the network were giving him a deal because he was a huge star off of the show. And it was a whole thing where he just come off his show. And it's like, yes, well, you want to be who? Charles? What? Mm. And of course, 9 years later, biggest hit ever. And it ran for 9 years. And it was mega and made everybody's great. And most of the people on it, some of them were character actors who'd worked in a lot of other things. And others were people who'd never really been on TV, had maybe done one thing or been in some commercials. I mean, Melissa Gilbert wasn't famous. She'd done tons of commercials, but many of the actors, they were not famous people at all.
Right.
And, Victor French had worked a lot in Westerns with Michael and other shows and things like that. And Richard Bull, who played my father, big character. Twilight. I think everyone in Little House had been in 2 episodes of The Twilight Zone. I noticed that. Right. But it was like all these shows. But there was a whole group of people. Karen Grassley was not famous. Catherine McGregor was not famous. Obviously, none of the kids were famous. And we just suddenly, kablooey, were household names overnight. And then it just went on and on and on and on and on and on and on. We grew up, and I grew up, and my character got married and had children. And it was like, what is happening? What is even happening? Absolutely not. If you had taken bets, you would have made so much money. If you had taken bets in Hollywood in 1974, will this show be a hit? And said, I'm going to bet you $100 it's a hit. You would be so rich because everyone would have lost $100. Including my own father.
Including your dad?
Said,
really?
Yes. Why are they building the sets like this thing is dead? I give it 6 months. They're crazy. They're spending too much on these sets. They're going to tear it all down in 6 months. They're out of their minds. The show's not going to run. Yeah.
Thanks, Dad. Appreciate the advice.
We don't take him to the track. Yeah. No,
we don't take him to the track.
You're not coming to the track, Dad.
So, of course, you're playing Nellie Oleson, and she was a unique character. And to this day, people still, because your acting was so spot on, you really took the character on and you lived and breathed her. People still today have feelings that they share with you in reference to the blur between Nellie and Alison, right?
I share physically on some occasions by throwing things at my head. It's really weird. I think people are better now. I think fans have a better idea separation between fantasy and reality than they did a long time ago. Thank heavens. And maybe it's because they see us more on Instagram and on that they go, oh, it's a person. Back then, unless you were on like the Dinah Shore show or Mike Douglas, I just didn't see you. It was weird. And playing a villain is a weird thing because if you do it right, people don't want to be around you. They don't like you. Actors are often very worried about likability. And I want to be likable. And even when they get a part where they're playing someone who isn't likable, who is meant to be unlikable, who is not good, who is not a shining example, they're the person like, don't do this. They are absolutely supposed to be awful and upsetting to the lead character. They're supposed to be upsetting to the audience. People will sometimes get freaked out as an actor and go, I don't want to go there. I don't want that part of my personality to even exhibit itself and people to know that I can do that. I don't want people to hate me. And that's sad because then they can't really fully, as they say, serve the character and the script. I somehow didn't think about that when I was doing it. I just kind of went, this looks good. And I just, by golly, I'm going to do this. I like villains. I get the picture. This is how it's done. I am going to be as objectionable and as humanly possible and as irritating. I would sometimes go, how can I make this line more irritating? And I would try to be as irritating as humanly possible. And I think I succeeded. And the problem is that it worked quite well And back then, people didn't have the sort of like Hollywoodized, cynical view they have of Hollywood. People kind of
Hmm.
believed in 74 what they saw on TV was real. And so people were horrified and thought I was a terrible
You
person
were, yeah.
and didn't like me. And it still occasionally happens. There was a lady on Facebook and she was talking about loving the show and stuff. And she said her husband is like, no, I don't like her. And she's like, well, you know, she's an actress. I'm friends with her on Facebook and she reads these books and I'm going to go to one of her events. She's very nice. And her husband's like, I don't care. I don't care. Now, what you tell me,
I'm
I
done.
saw her on TV. I don't want to go anywhere
I
that
can't
woman
stand
is.
her. Right.
And it's like, yeah, and that's terrible because it means like it's this compliment that as an actor you've done something right. But what do? If you really play a villain right, people are going to be freaked out and give you serious grief about it. But if they don't, then you've done it wrong.
Then you've done it wrong. But you've been able to take it and take the years on Little House on the Prairie and make the best of it, right? You've used it for some very important charitable causes and some different ways to sort of stay connected with people, which I think is great.
Yes, I have. Can you hear me now? My thingamajigger just died on me, but
Yes.
my thingamajigger, also known as an earpiece or Bluetooth, but you can still hear me.
Yes, a little of an echo
Okay.
on this end, but we hear you. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's the thing is when you are typecast, and you notice I'm being very careful. It's like you're allowed to mention the name of the show. I'm being good because we're so close. We're so close to ending the strike. We're this close. We're this close. They're back at the table. It's like yes.
It's just
But
there.
we're trying to like not mention. But yeah, when you are on an iconic show, which it is iconic show, and you play an iconic character, and especially villain, it was a very emotional show. People suspended their sense of disbelief. So you're playing someone that people are having a visceral reaction to. You can get typecast. And typecasting is big in Hollywood. I don't know why. You would think that a place that's all about imagination, people would have more. But when you go to the studios and deal with the casting directors, they are very fixated. This person plays these people. This person is an action hero. This person is a comedian. They want to do drama. No, they're funny. They don't do serious things. And this person does serious things, can't do funny things. It's crazy that all actors have a story about having to jump from one genre to another like it was a huge deal when it's not really different. And so when you're playing someone like that, yeah, absolutely, there's typecasting. And in my case, I hit a nerve. So yeah, people really did. And so I was in a kind of a bind, and I sometimes I only got seen for shows that took place in the 1800s. They thought I was time traveling. I don't know. But they were very big fixation, so that was a problem. I thought, well, and I had all the people who hated me, and then I had the whole stigma where people, ex-child star. So I thought, how can I take this and turn it on its head? What can I do to just take it and go? There's nowhere to go. You can't make it go away. Can't make it go away. I've seen people go, I'm never going to talk about my show or my character. And they spend the whole interview talking about why they can't talk about their character. And it's, so how can I take this and keep it, but turn it inside out so it allows me to be me and I can show people me, yet use the thing. And by God, I did. So first of all, I love doing stand-up comedy. I started doing stand-up comedy as a teenager. And right away I saw, okay, there's an avenue there. And eventually when it came up with Confessions of a Prairie Bitch, the whole show, it was, yes, I was her and you hated me. And yes, and I hate you too, fine. And it was just like this crazy thing where I addressed it. And yes, I'm a crazy ex-child star. What do you want to do about it? And it worked. It so worked. And it was like taking my power back. And it was funny as hell. And people liked it. And they got to ask questions. I always have a question and answer segment in my show. And then I wrote the book because I went, wow, people really have questions. And so most people, it's like they do the book and then the show. I did the show and then the book, which is,
right.
Again, I do everything the other way around. And so then I wound up doing, is there a book to go with? That's what my agent said. Is there a book to go with this show? Yes, there is. And I wrote the book and it was a huge hit. It was a huge hit. It New York Times bestseller list. And people are still reading it. They're still buying it, and they're still reading it. And it's fantastic because it covers a lot of ground. It talks about the show, and it talks about my life before and my life after. It talks about the craziness of growing up in Hollywood, being an ex-child star. It talks about my completely wackadoo bohemian family and all of the craziness. My dad working for Liberace and like, wait, what? I just
That's right.
all this crazy stuff. It talks about the hard times, the bad stuff, and then it talks about what really went on the set that people desperately want to know. And I shoved it all in there, and it worked. It clicked, and people who watched the show wanted. I got people telling me they didn't even watch the show, but they went and read my book because they said the idea of Confessions of a Prairie Bitch sounded like a good title. Must be interesting. And people all got something out of it. Everybody got something different out of it, and I was just so happy. And now my one-woman show's become sort of a little institution of itself, as has the book. And now, of course, with the show having this 50th anniversary, that's become a whole genre of event. Like I said, its own event to go to these things and meet with the fans. And it's just one thing after another, and each thing sort of builds. And it's fun because sometimes when I do theater or I do an independent film, do I get asked to play the terrible person? Yes, I do. And if it's good and I like the terrible person they're asking me to play, I say yes. So it's all worked out.
Because you wouldn't say her initials, N-O, no. So you say yes.
Well, exactly. I know. I need to start saying no to more things, don't I? I've looked at my schedule. I suppose I should say no occasionally. But yeah, that's one thing people say, will you be in my movie? I say, call my agent, send your script, whatever. If I read the script and it's funny, I laugh out loud, or there's something in the character of the script, I go, oh, I want to do that. I haven't done that before. That sounds interesting. It's well done.
Yeah.
And you have union papers of some kind, and you have some sort of cash laying around that you can pay me. I'm probably going to show up.
Exactly right. Yeah. Well, because you love the work and you're so good at it. And it's something that's, in your DNA. You like to create and perform and entertain people, which I think is fantastic. Why do you think the series is still so beloved today? Why people it resonates around the world with so many people?
That is just, the craziest thing. Like I said, no one anticipated such a thing. It's a very, very emotional show. It's absolutely gets people right here. And you have to look back also. The books were insanely successful, and they weren't supposed to be either. HarperCollins, it's like, okay, history lessons here. HarperCollins, the publisher, which was Harper at the time, they didn't have a children's literature department yet. Children's lit as a big selling thing wasn't a thing yet. It was the 1930s. Okay, again, it was the Depression. Everything was terrible. Nobody had any money. And here's this woman and her daughter Rose really pushing it, book about her childhood, Little House in the Big Woods, and a young woman was hired to go be the children's literature person, and they gave it to like the girl because they didn't think it would be a big deal, and she found Laura Ingalls Wilder. So of course, Little House in the Big Woods, which we thought was going to be a standalone, turned into a giant mega hit, and she had to write Little House on the Prairie, Banks of Plum Creek, Farmer Boy, blah, blah, blah. She couldn't stop. It's just like they need another book. And it was one of the most successful children's book series in the history of Earth, translated into languages all over the world. Why? Well, the Ingalls were really poor. In 1874, things weren't good economically in the country, and the Ingalls also kept traveling, and Charles Ingalls wasn't a very good farmer. It just was. So they were poor. So in the 1930s, when everyone's having a horrible time in the Depression, out come these books where this family is overcoming all of these obstacles and all of this deprivation, and they ate it up. So what happened? So 1974, we had a recession. Does everybody remember whip inflation now? Right? We were all broke in 74. And then
they had gas lines and everything, right?
Yeah, was it the gasoline? You could get gasoline every other day, depending on the odd number of license plates.
Right.
There was no meat. Getting meat in the store was it? And Michael Landon says, "I know. Let's make the Little House in the Prairie books," which came out in the Depression, were written about an era where they were having a recession, and it comes out the TV show in the middle of the recession in the 70s, and kaboom! And of course, people ate this up. So it really hit a nerve. And when you look at how the Ingalls family, the book show, whatever, how they lived, this is how most people live. Most people aren't living, dynasty. They're a bunch of people with a family with a lot of kids in a tiny house with a couple of rooms, wondering if they're going to make it through the month.
Right.
There's a terrible lady at everybody's work who acts like my mother. Everyone at school has a Nellie. There's always a school bully. There's always some pushy Karen lady at your job, like running the store.
Right.
And so to have a family who are poor and living in a tiny house and dealing with the snot-nosed rich people in town and the school bully and the awful woman store, this is what people's lives are. This is what real people deal with every day. And they saw this and went, somebody gets it. And it absolutely hit a nerve. Everyone said, this I understand. This I can identify with. I understand these people. And it was always, every episode was life, death, love. Somebody was having a baby. Somebody was dying. People could get into that. And that's, I think, why it worked. And people say, well, it strayed from the books. It did. But it also stuck to the books in a really weird way that resonated with people. And then it departed from the books in a way that made it work. And so here we are 50 years later, and people are talking about this show like it was shot last week. And I am baffled and stunned every day by this response.
And it's really amazing that, like you say, the 50th anniversary coming up next year, and it's going to be a whirlwind year for you and everybody else, right?
Oh, well, completely. And I said, and then my stand-up thing, I have many bookings for that.
Are you coming back to the East Coast?
Yeah, on the East Coast, absolutely. Mother's Day. I always try to do Mother's Day weekend at the Laurie Beachman Theater in 42nd. So I am booked for the Mother's Day show there. That's already, it's November. I'm booked for Mother's Day. Yes. So we're looking at our dates around that. And then the French show, where I'm, the whole 1980s comedy musical review thing, that's booked. We have dates for that coming
How'd
up.
you come up with that? Tell us more about that. That sounds like a fabulous show.
To France, 2002, I went to France for the first time. I did a talk show there, and I found out that they were cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs for certain American TV shows, especially mine. And then my character being unpleasant. Well, I would say the French, they don't think she's mean. They think she's French. But kind of a little bit, they kind of like the bad girls. So I go there and I find out how popular everything is. Well, this is great. So I go back. And then I met this wonderfully wacky guy, Patrick Lubatier. He's a writer and a teacher. And he said, well, what if we did an adaptation of your stand-up show? He said, it would have to change. I mean, obviously there's jokes, you're talking about things in America that no one knows in France and will make no sense no matter what language you translate them. So that's, chop. This part works if you this part works, this part works. And wrote an entire show. And I went to France and performed an entire show in French. And it worked. And I wound up doing a movie there. And then he wrote.
Did you know French before you went?
Hmm?
Or did you know French before you went? Or are you a quick study?
Exactly. Here's the crazy part. I took French in high school and was horrible at it. My junior high French teacher was good. That's where I think I learned anything was from her. And so I really didn't speak French. I knew the days of the week. I started doing the show in French, and then I went back to school. And remember, this is way past the age of 40. I went back to school and learned a second language after 40. It's hard. Very good for your brain. They keep telling me. I hope so. I hope it's good for my brain because it's really hard. And now there was a second show, Mal au Trésor de Nellie Oleson, and now it's Nellie Oleson en Flammes, les années 80. It's a whole 80s thing. And we do this show together all over the French countryside, and it's hysterical. And it's all in French, and my French is drastically improved. But it's a whole thing unto itself. There's this thing. And then I do theater. I did... and then there were none, and I did Mousetrap. I just did Mousetrap last year out in North Carolina. So I do plays. And so there's that whole thing where I do dramatic theater. And then I have the stand-up thing. And then I sometimes I have speaking engagements. There's a women's conference I'll be speaking at about my book and things. So it's like, what do you do?
Yes.
What do I not do?
Right. Early on, you were one of the first to really bring to light the situation with HIV/AIDS, and you've been a real proponent and advocate, and in a very beautiful way. Tell us about that initial inspiration and some of the extraordinary work, with all that we've seen you do that's funny and entertaining and dramatic. Behind the scenes, you've always been somebody who likes to roll up their sleeves, dig in, and help others, which I think is a beautiful thing because you're so busy with everything you're doing all the time. But to make time to give back, it just shows the essence of who you are, Alison, as a person.
It's I've always felt, we're all here to try to make the world a slightly better place than it was before we got here, or that's what I'm trying to do. Don't be a waste of oxygen. Try to like do something decent. And everyone finds some other different way that there's something else you can help fix. And in my case, obviously Steve Tracy, who played my husband on the show, he got sick and he went very, very public with his AIDS diagnosis in 1986, which people were not doing. That was not a thing in 86. We didn't, we didn't even have the red ribbon yet. And he went public and was interviewed about it. And I wanted to help him. And he was lucky. He had, like health insurance and money, and his family. So his mother flew out, his sister flew out. He had family who stood by him. He had friends who stood by him. And so many people did not. So many people with AIDS were completely abandoned by their families and abandoned by their friends and did not have a doctor, and things were bad for them. And so I started volunteering at AIDS Project Los Angeles to try to help all these other people who did not have the advantages that Steve did, having been on a TV show and having an incredible family who loved him. And I was able to help people. And also people were so terrified. I had people calling me and they'd call me about, the whole story of Steve having AIDS, but they'd ask me medical questions about HIV transmission. I thought, wow, do people really not know that what they're asking me? So I volunteered and I took the training for the Southern California AIDS hotline. And then I was able to work the hotline, get people the information they needed. And I did speaking engagements. And so I did like everything. And I wound up working to help start with a guy named Barry Horton, a group called Tuesday's Child, where we help families with children with HIV and AIDS, families affected by AIDS. And that was huge because they had nothing. They were thrown out of their apartment buildings and had no food, place to stay. So we helped all those people. So I started doing that. And then in the early 2000s, I was approached by a marvelous group, National Association to Protect Children, that were just starting out. And they said, could you come be on our board? And I'm like, well, I don't know. People ask me to be on their boards. What do you got? And they talked about what they were doing to fight child abuse on the legal level, on the legislative level, on getting tech to the police department to fight the stuff that's going on the internet. Just like mind-blowing, incredible stuff to really help victims and give them a level playing field. And I was like, I'm in. And then during that, they said, look, we're not going to ask you to, but what do you want to do about this? And I said, no, people are going to want to know. They're going to assume something. So I have been open about my having been abused as a child as well because of this. And it wasn't something that, I'm just going to go talk about this to talk about it. It was because I was in the middle of changing a law in California. And I said, if talking about what happened to me will help that happen, then let's go. And so we did. We successfully changed laws in 7 states, and we're just starting a whole bunch of new programs for next year of all kinds of new stuff we're going to be doing to help children all over the country in all kinds of different ways.
Is one of those things, are you working with protect.org?
Yes.
That's fantastic. Tell us about that.
Well, protect.org was started initially, as I said, legislatively. We changed laws. There were laws with terrible, terrible loopholes that if someone sexually abused a child, they were not related to, perhaps in their state, the penalty was 20 years. But if they were related to the victim, you'd think it would be worse, right? Related to the victim, they could opt to plead guilty. They were guilty. They plead guilty. They were saying they did it. No jail time, and sometimes deferred entry of judgment, and sometimes their record could be expunged. So as opposed to nowadays here where people become registered sex offenders, someone could sexually abuse all 4 of their children and their nieces and nephews and have no record, not be a registered sex offender, not serve any time in jail. And we're like, why is that even a thing? Because it's actually a person in position to trust a relative. It should be 20 times worse. And this law was all over the country. We successfully got that changed, lobbied to change that, and worked with legislators to rewrite legislation and change that in multiple states. We also have helped enormously with the ICAC teams, Internet Crimes Against Children. ICAC, big city has an ICAC team, and they're the ones who find all the horrible, horrible things on the internet. And we were able to make sure that their budget stayed in place or was increased substantially, and made sure that they got tech and the manpower that they needed, including having an entire training program for people to go and work for ICAC. It's just amazing stuff like that. And now we're doing things about education, about internet safety, about protection of children in all different areas and venues, and of course still working with law enforcement.
It's really incredible. It's absolutely beautiful work that you do, and I know it really speaks to your heart in very profound and deep ways. And again, you've been giving back in such a beautiful way for quite a long time. When you look at all of this work, what are some of those blessings and joys that sort of foster and inspire you to continue doing all of this in your own life?
Well, yeah, I mean, as I said, we all should be doing something. I don't know, adopt a pet. I don't know, plant a tree. We should be doing something, for heaven's sake. But it makes me sleep better at night. There's so many horrible things going on in the world, and they are horrible. And there's so many horrible things in the world of child abuse that are happening, and terribly. And you see them on the TV and the papers, and you read about somebody gets arrested, and you go, "What they did? What?" It's bad, and it's going to be bad. And I at least can go to bed at night knowing I did something. I did do something. It's like, if only someone was doing something about that. Well, there are people doing things about it. There are multiple organizations that are indeed doing something about all of the terrible things that are happening in our world. The people who are working to help people living with HIV, the people who are working to help stop child abuse. There are people working to help all of these people. They're out there, get on the internet and break out the phone book, what have you. Do you still have phone books? There you go. And you can volunteer, you can work with groups. Absolutely. There's people out there who are trying to end hunger, there are people doing stuff. There's decent people out there, and you can go partner up with them and go do that and actually help. There's a food bank in my neighborhood, and I have given them things and have volunteered there. You can go to your local food bank and go feed people who don't have enough to eat. You can do that.
See, and you thought Nellie Oleson wasn't a sweetheart. She always was inside. See, folks, the evidence has been revealed on the Jim Master Show. The book itself, what was it like writing the book? Tell us about that writing process.
It was hard. It was fun, but it was really hard. Writing a book is hard. There's a surprise. And my problem is stopping. They always say, we need 70,000 words. I'm like, yeah. I think I wrote 130,000 before my agent said, just stop. I don't care. I think you're done. We had to edit it down. But I wanted to get so much in there to crack, because I knew it was a lot of answering questions. And there were times I even had conversations with people where I said, what do you want to know? I know you have questions. What do you really want to know about me, about the show, about that? And they said, I've always wondered. I'm like, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And I just threw it all out there. And I've always said, if you're writing a book, just tell all the stories. You'll work it out with legal later, whether you can tell that one or not. But go right ahead.
Exactly right. Yes.
And I just, got it all out, and it really worked. And I've always enjoyed reading. I'm a voracious reader. And I wanted to write a book that was like something I would read.
Yes.
And so I was like, well, what do I like when I'm reading? Oh, I like a little suspense. How will she get out of this fix? So, okay, I'll do that. And I tell people, if you're writing a book and you're talking about sad things, you're talking about funny things, if while you're writing it, you don't start laughing, it's probably not going to be that funny for other people to read it. Or if you're writing something about a very hard time in your life and you're not feeling kind of bad and moved to tears and like, wow, that was, they're probably not going to be upset when they read it. You are going to have to go there. If you think you're going to be able to write a book about your life and it's not going to hurt, you're not going to go, ooh, I don't like reliving this. Maybe you don't want to do that, because you are going to have to go there.
What's the response been from the actual super fans? And like you said, there's people who maybe didn't even see the series, but they wanted to check the book out. What's that response been like for you?
Oh, overwhelming. I was thrilled right away. As soon as the first people got their hands on it, the first reviewers, the first friends I sent it to,
Yeah.
the phone rang. They're like, wait, what? Wait, the book's like this? You wrote what? Okay. I got my friend's like, okay, seriously, I thought it would be good, funny. I didn't think you were going to write this. I'm like, but what is that a compliment? What? And yeah. And so I, I can't name the person. Okay, there was a reviewer called my publicist, and he said, I was just going to do a quick phoner with her, but I'd like to take her to lunch at the Four Seasons and have a long discussion about this book now. And I'm like, oh, well, I get lunch. People really liked it. And the first book signing I went to, it was packed, and all these people were just staring at me with the strangest look on their face. And I'm like, I think maybe okay. So I threw in everything and the kitchen sink, and it worked. I advise, if you're writing a book, go all the way, go big or go home.
Right.
And I did. And the response, and it's still, I mean, it's been a while since I wrote the book, and I have orders on my online store. I have to go put 4 of them in the mail today.
Isn't that incredible? It's really amazing. It just shows you the passion people have for the character and the fascination and for you and your life, and they want to know more, and you've been open enough to share it in the book, which I think is fantastic. And there's been some of the other, cast members too. We had Wendy Lou Lee on, Baby Grace was
I love
on.
her. Do you love Wendy Lou Lee? How much do you love Wendy Lou Lee?
She was fantastic. Yeah, she was terrific. It's your
second book, 2 books.
That's right.
And she's good.
Yeah.
Like, who knew Baby Grace was the genius? Who knew? She's amazing. And that's the thing. I know there's people who were encouraged to write their books.
Charlotte Stewart was here.
I'm like,
yeah.
Go big or go home.
Charlotte Stewart was here. Karen Grassley was here. Yeah.
I love her book. Oh my God.
Charlotte.
Jim Morrison. Miss Beale and Jim Morrison.
Isn't that incredible?
She was rock and roll. She was the queen of rock and roll. That's just how, yeah.
It's incredible. Yeah, and Karen Grassley was here.
The people who really went big and all out. That's how it works. And I'm just so pleased, because do you know how many books come out a year, a week? Holy moly! I mean, I follow all the things. I said I'm a crazy reader. I get all these emails telling me the latest books that just came out, and like, how many can I buy? And books come out by the crate every day. And most of them do not make the New York Times bestseller list. Some of them, nobody reads them at all. Some of them, if they're lucky, get a nice small following. For my book to come out and that many people to read it and make such a fuss, I mean, it's just a fantastic, wonderful thing. And to have people years later saying, I bought your book and I wore out my copy and had to get another one, or my sister stole it from me and I had to get another. People steal my book all the time. Like, what is that even about? But there you go.
That's incredible. Well, my sister didn't steal any of my books, but when we were riding home from visiting relatives in Connecticut to back home to New York to Eastern Long Island, I had the Charlie McCarthy ventriloquist doll, because I love ventriloquism, and we were playing with it in the back seat of the car one Christmas as kids, and she pulled the string just a little too hard and snapped the mouth open. So what do you do with a ventriloquist doll like Charlie McCarthy, where the string breaks and the mouth is permanently open? That's what happened.
It's a Halloween decoration.
I kind of wish that she stole one of the books instead.
And then poor Charlie doesn't say anything anymore. Oh, that's awful.
He just sort of faded out to sea. You guys stay in touch and get together, and it's like a family, right?
It is. It's crazy. I really do. Someone said, how many people from Little House do you have on speed dial? Like 14, I think. No, we do. We still talk to each other. A lot of people on TV shows do not stay friends afterwards.
Right.
It's Hollywood. People sometimes, the minute they wrap, they're like, bah, it's the last time seeing you people. And I get that. That happens. But we like each other. And we have stayed in touch over the years. And we've tried to get together, even when there was nothing going on. We would get together and have a party at somebody's house or go out to dinner. That's so nice. Something. And so we've always tried to stay connected, and we try to be there. If somebody's sick or not doing well, help each other out, and as best we can, like a family. We keep tabs on each other. We'll call each other, "She okay?" We're like, we do. We try to check in on each other. And then now with all of this hoo-ha and autograph shows and meet and greets and things, we're like, great, we get another excuse to hang out together. But we actually enjoy it, which is weird, because, I mean, do you ever see the movie Galaxy Quest?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's about autograph shows. It's about a series, and generally it's like that for most people. So the fact that we still speak to each other, it's very unusual, but we do all still get along, and that's why we're so pleased that I know the fans and the people who watch the show still love it all these years later and want to speak to us.
It's really absolutely incredible, the indelible mark you guys left. And of course, you've done so many other things and continue to beyond that epic series. I know you love Christmas.
Is that adorable? That was, yes.
That's fantastic.
One of my online Christmas performances out of the living room. That is not a real fireplace.
I was going to say, that's a heck of a mantle.
A heck of a man. It's not real. I found out you can go on Amazon and buy backdrops of anything for surprisingly reasonable prices.
Yeah.
That is a cloth backdrop hanging from you get one of those photographer's racks that you would hang a paper backdrop on.
Yeah.
And you buy these backdrops online and clip them to it. That is a cloth thing of a picture of a fireplace with 4 stockings on it. Now, the silver tree off to the side, those are real. Those are 2 metallic Christmas trees that we put together and lit up and plugged in. But the whole fireplace, the stockings, all of that behind me is fake. That is all. It looks great on camera. The spooky one where I have, for Halloween, I have a big, scary, haunted looking graveyard, gates open in the moonlight, and it looks absolutely 3D, like you can walk into it. It's lovely.
That's absolutely amazing, huh?
And just pure silliness. I mean, I've gotten backdrops of like everything, just everything. And sometimes like, is this going to read on camera? This looks dumb. And then we turn it on and go, wow, that looks great. My favorite is the brick wall, really. It's paper and it's a painting of a brick wall. And the number of people who called me and said, do you have like a brick wall at your house? Do you have a basement? I don't recall seeing this.
You have made use of that house, huh?
I'm telling you, the living room, it's like we just shove the couch over to one side. And so like the TV, that's like the living room. And then this side is like the studio. It's just, but a lot of people did that in 2020. A lot of people got very creative. I'm very impressed with what a lot of actors and comedians and people did in 2020 and 2021. Very creative stuff. And I kind of hit the ground running. And I really didn't. Like I said, I didn't know what I was going to do. People said, was that planned? I go, no. I said it was totally self-preservation. I needed something to do because I was going to lose my marbles not going anywhere. So I started reading and everybody just joined me and it worked out really well.
A lot of our viewers are JMS Lovities watching around the world. Alison, of course, you are still a Lovity from Jen Barry. I said the show, during the pandemic has a lot of light, love, and levity. And one time I said that too fast and I said the word Lovity. And when I said the word Lovity, all of a sudden they jumped on and they said, okay, you're Mr. Lovity. This is Lovity Hall. We're your Lovity squad and the guests are part of the Lovity family. So when you were here last, you were already designated a Gym Master Show Lovity, and they reaffirmed that this evening on the show. How cool is that, right?
Love it. I love it because when I do my show, the Alison Arngrim Show on UBM, when I interview people, and I open by saying the Alison Arngrim Show, we talk about things that make you feel good. The TV shows and movies that made you feel good, and the people who made them, and people who are doing things now to make the world a better place.
That's what it's about, right? That's what it's all about. I am
all about positivity and constructive stuff and pushing the idea of finding ways to do clever, good, constructive, positive things in your life.
Cordella says, Alison's Prairie book was the best. I learned so much. Thank you, Cordella. All these great comments coming in. They're all saying you look fabulous.
Thank you, Doc.
She's very well rested. Working on Spry, but that'll be the next time she comes back.
I got 5 years before Spry. Well deserved.
Yeah, you are fantastic. Really, I appreciate your stopping by the show, especially on the heels of coming back from that whirlwind excursion. And it's you're gonna rest now. You're on like a little bit of a hiatus before you get back out there, right?
I got like I said, I got a party planning thing, and then I have a week, and then I'm on the cruise. So, which is great because I only really work one day. I really only work one day on the cruise. So I do get to be on a cruise for a couple of days. And then it's okay. And then I just have the one gig in December. I'll be in Corsicana, Texas, and then December is free time. I go to Christmas parties and visit relatives.
That's nice. That's what it's all about. A lot of comments coming in here. I love Alison's facial expressions. Did you ever do voiceover work like your mother did?
Can you believe it? No, right? Like what? I don't right? I am the
Yeah.
daughter of Gumby. How is this possible? I don't know. I just never have. The facial expression thing, I cannot help it, and it has worked out really well. I have friends who've brought friends who didn't actually speak English to my shows, and they laugh through the whole thing.
Really?
And they said, "You didn't understand a word of that. Why are you laughing?" They're like, "Look at her." So
Barbara Katz has a question. She just said, Alison, if you could change one thing in your life, what would it be?
oh, I would get more exercise. I would side with my doctor who nags me about that religiously. Yeah, but he does that to everyone. It's more exercise. I'm getting exercise. Get more exercise than that. But yes, he's like, it hurts. I go like this. Don't go like, get more exercise. I would get more exercise. Now, I got a lot of exercise in France because when you're in France, especially in Paris, you walk everywhere. So I got a lot of exercise. So I'm sort of trying to really work on that for this because I'm going to need it. I have to go into training so I can survive 2024, the schedule.
It's going to be a
But
big year.
exercise is good for you. It's terrible. Every time I read about any ailment or chronic illness, it's like, well, vigorous aerobic exercise. I'm like, okay, wait, so that's actually the cure for everything?
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. But yes, exercise. I need to get more exercise.
What are some of those blessings and joys in your life that keep you out doing what you're doing? You're blessed in so many ways. And it seems like you're in a sweet spot. I mean, you've had all these phenomenal experiences, but you're enjoying the ride, aren't you?
I am. I mean, yeah, plus, okay, so I'm celebrating my 30th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations. Happy anniversary to you both.
Who can say that? And in Hollywood, is that 60 equivalent? I don't. So yes, my husband Bob and I have a husband Bob who I married to for 30 years, who I actually like. We're speaking 30 years.
That's a plus.
Yeah. I have two of the most adorable cats, which many people have seen on my various videos, Morticia and Roswell. I have the fabulous kitties. We have an adorable little house here with the bookshelf, a little house, a little garden. It's kind of in the big woods, I guess. I have a car that works and a mechanic that's really good. If it doesn't,
those are more pluses.
I have a decent mechanic. I have a good doctor. I have health insurance. So yeah, all the biggies. I'm in generally good health and I have health insurance. Woohoo! That's like the winning the lottery nowadays.
These days, it's yeah.
Those are all huge things. I have friends. I have, and I said, my husband's family. We spend Christmas with them. They're awesome. I have, the cast of the show I get to hang out with. I get to do fun things. I get to travel. So yeah, no, I have so many fabulous things. I'm in a really good spot. Things are good. And as you said, the comments are getting people how much they loved my book and they love the reading. So I'm doing things that are making the world a better place, that are benefiting other people, that are bringing happiness to other people.
That's a beautiful thing. And you've been doing that for a long time, my friend. And I really appreciate that. Maureen in Arizona says, you are one busy gal, Alison. You definitely need some you time to enjoy. Now, she's a nurse in Arizona. So
she knows. Then she
knows. So when you can, thanks for returning.
I will take that as doctor's orders that I need
doctor's
some me time,
orders.
I need some rest. The nurse in Arizona said I need to take a day.
Said you're going to take the time for yourself. You're amazing. Thanks for returning to Lovity Hall. Tight Lovity hugs to you, which is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. And Kathleen in New York City says, thanks for coming back to see us, Alison. You are amazing. Wishing you continued success. Got to check out your book. Bless you for the work you do. Really, really nice. And Merlin in Canada. Thanks, Alison. You take care of yourself. Awesome seeing you again here on our show. And it really was. I appreciate all the time. I love your wit. I love the quickness of your dry observational humor. I've always been an admirer of your work, and you're a straight shooter. You're authentic, super talented. And I hope to get to see you when you were here in the New York area. I was actually on a television shoot on the West Coast. So that's why I said, I hope you come back east.
I
because I got to get to see that on stage. But I recommend the book, and you're welcome back to stop by the Jim Master Show anytime. Hope you enjoy the time with me as much as I have with you, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure. You be well, and you take care, and go take a nap now.
Is it nap time? It must be.
You're the best. Thank you so much, Alison.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Continued blessings. Take care.
Yeah.
Cheers. Isn't she amazing? She's really fantastic. That's Alison Arngrim returning to the Jim Masters Show live series for all of you with some exciting news about things that are happening. And some of it we couldn't talk about necessarily. You know, we just talked a little bit about the iconic series that she was on, but there's other things that she's working on that are forthcoming. That series, 50 years. Could you imagine that? 50 years ago, as of 2024. And it's going to be a really super busy year for Alison and for all of the cast, the remaining cast, because they're going to have a lot of events and a lot of things celebrating Little House on the Prairie, which, could you imagine, 50 years ago? Wow. That went by in a New York minute. Celebrating 30 years of marriage to her husband, Bob. We say happy anniversary to Alison and Bob. That is so fantastic. And there she is right there. She's always a fantastic guest here on the Jim Masters Show Live series. This is her return visit, and we really appreciate her being with us. And, you know, those bonnets that we were showing you when she was doing her, she read all the incredible books, which was amazing. Did that on social media. I thought that was really, really cool of her to do that. The bonnets too. Got a couple of things we can show you here. That is the site to get the bonnets. I know some of you, I think Jen Berry in Pennsylvania said, you have collected some of Alison's bonnets already, right? Which I think is really cool. But you can go to this website. We're very happy to show it here at the Jim Masters Show live series, bonnetheads.com. Maybe pick up some of your Alison Arngrim bonnets as well, which is kind of cool. And, you know, there was another site we wanted to show you too, protect.org, which was that wonderful organization she's involved in that helps protect children, which I think is a beautiful thing. And again, she's been involved in so many great things. We're going to take a look at a few more comments and things of that nature here. But first, we would love this. You know, we're always working hard. We've done so many shows, over 1,020 episodes in just 3.5 years so far of the Jim Masters Show Live series as of today, which I think is amazing. We would love it if you give this episode a like on our YouTube channel. Give it a like. And also, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, we'd love it if you do that. It costs nothing. And leave a comment. What did you like about this show? What are your memories of Little House on the Prairie or other shows and series and specials that our very special guest Alison Arngrim has been involved in? Of course, she was on Love Boat and all these others. What are some of the things you love about Alison and also our series? Who are some folks maybe you'd like to see on the show? Interact with us. Leave a comment in the comments section underneath this episode on the YouTube channel. So give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, share the episode link on your social media. And yeah, we really appreciate that. When you do that, it helps us grow big time. Did you know that? More people can see our series when you click leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. And for all of you, the thousands and thousands of you who have done that and continue to do that, we thank you so very, very much. Those of you who have been with us since day one, and those of you who just tuned in today, we appreciate you being with us. And if you just tuned in today, I'm your host, Jim Masters. I work in television and radio. So I love these conversations where we're talking about TV shows and, you know, classic stuff. And it's a lot of fun, and music and all the rest. So this is really cool. Want to take a look at some of the comments coming in here. We thank everybody for all the comments. This really was beautiful. Galene Walker says, a terrific show. Thank you, Jim. And of course, we have super chat, super emoji, super stickers in the chat room while the show is live. That helps support what we're doing. Hope you guys enjoyed yourself. It was a blast. We had so many laughs with Alison right off the top. She and I were laughing behind the scenes before the show even started. We got each other laughing, which I thought was awesome. She's a special person. Thanks, Jim and Alison. Great conversation. Timothy Larson, good to see you here as well. Barbara Katz, always great. Awesome show, Jim. Thanks so much, Barbara. Continue to spread the word about the Jim Masters show and binge watch some of the past episodes. Wendy Lou Lee, Baby Grace was just here. And of course, Karen Grassley was here and Charlotte Stewart was here. So many people from the Waltons and incredible shows have been with us. And of course, not just shows, but so many other genres, music and film and food. And I mean, we've had award-winning chefs on the show and psychics, and just like an entertainment lifestyle celebrity talk show series with lots of variety. Yeah, we did 2 shows today. For those who are watching live, we had the incredible co-owner and executive chef of the iconic Patsy's Italian restaurant in New York City. He was a guest on our show earlier today. You can see that episode in the archives on our YouTube channel. Thanks, Jim, for 2 great shows today. My pleasure. We did 2 episodes of the Jim Masters show today live, and in between I had radio shows, and we're preparing for a big television shoot project I have this Saturday. So we're writing scripts for that. And then I'm going to be heading off to, I think the end of November, I'm headed to Minnesota for a big TV shoot. You guys know I work in the industry. And so Jen Barry says, yes, I bought 2 of Alison's bonnets. They're awesome. And you got them on the website store, which is awesome. That's fantastic. Maureen says she's going to pay heed to your take care of yourself, Alison. Medical advice, Maureen. Thanks for having Alison back, Jim. It's always fun when she's here. It really, really is. And thank you as well. Thanks, Jim. Awesome double Levity Day. Awesome shows. Thank you very much. Timothy Larson says, thanks, Jim and Alison. Great conversation. Let's see if there's some others here. We would love to acknowledge everybody. Kurt Stacy here. Kurt, hello, Jim and Alison. Kurt, thank you for being with us here on the Jim Masters Show Live series. Again, you guys can archive hundreds of episodes. They're all stored and archived on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. Check out some of your favorite guests, celebrity friends, and more who stop by here. Good to see you, Kurt. And Colleen, of course, we showed that to Alison on the screen, and I really thought it was nice and to have you here. And, Jane says it's almost difficult to see and listen to this lovely person, Alison, because you remember the horrible person, Nellie. Alison is really a very good actress. Yes, she is, to be able to pull off being Nellie Oleson on Little House on the Prairie. And then here you see her today, and she's a sweetheart of a person. She probably hears that a lot. She did say that sometimes people do still come up to her and they're still mad at her because of something Nellie Oleson said or did on the series. So they still react to Alison and sort of forgetting sometimes that Alison is not Nellie. She played Nellie as a kid. It's like soap opera actors and actresses too, when they play a role for a long time and somebody steals somebody's husband or something, or on Lifetime or those movie networks, and you think that person is the villain, but they're really a nice person in real life, as Alison is. And Merlin in Canada, thank you very much as well for the great comments and everybody. It was so good to have her here. We wanted to make sure we were able to work around the schedules, because she literally just got back from her big trip in Europe. And you guys can be checking the book out as well. You can get it on Amazon. It's available online as well. And Jason Bender here as well. Yes, I remember the comedian Ken Berry was on the house play The Sad Clown on the show. Ken Berry, yes, you remember that. You love the book. The Celestial Harpist here. Good to see you on the Jim Masters Show Live series. And Renee Oscom here. Good to see you with us, Renee, once again. And this is really great. Celestial Harpist says, hi, Alison, you're hilarious. I hated Nellie, but I love you. She gets that a lot, I'm sure. She gets that a lot. And this is really, really cool. You've been binge watching. Let's see, been binge watching for weeks now. Always love the show. Love meeting everyone. Thank you as well. This is really, really cool. And let's see. Cardella here. Fun show tonight. Really fun stuff. Just acknowledging some of our viewers, new viewers, and so much more. And yes, Jason, we remember Highway to Heaven. That was another Michael Landon production. Hello, tonight. Does anyone remember Highway to Heaven? Only 6 years at night, Wednesdays, 7 on NBC. Yep, it was 8 p.m. here. We're Eastern time. We're on the East Coast in the New York area. So it was 8 p.m. for us on NBC. A heavenly show. Michael Landon. God bless. Absolutely. A lot of comments here, and we appreciate everybody. Renee says, hi, Jim and Alison. And your daughters love the Little House on the Prairie books. That's really, really cool. We appreciate that as well. And again, also leave a comment on our actual YouTube channel. We would love that. Interact with us. Let us know what you enjoyed about this show, any of our episodes, and your Little House on the Prairie or Alison Arngrim memories. Diddle's Bug here. Fabulous to see you again, Alison. Thank you for taking time out for your fans, even though you're probably dead tired. Love to you. She's rested, like we were laughing about earlier. Good stuff. You guys are great. Thanks for, there's just scrolls and scrolls. Thanks for all the great comments. And we love having all of you here. Thanks for the warm welcome. Thanks for being back with us here on the show. For those of you who watch all the time, some of you watch the Jim Masters Show live religiously every single day. We're here just about, every single day, just about. And we have done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shows, which is absolutely amazing, and have a ball doing it with all of you. I love putting these shows together and, hosting and producing them and conversing with you and just having a good time. As Alison said, you got to enjoy life. Life is short. Life is precious. We talk about that all the time here on the Jim Masters Show. Always looking to entertain, but also inspire and motivate and put smiles on people's faces with some of that JMS levity as well. So this is really, really cool. And thanks for these comments coming in here. We'll try to read through some of them. But again, you can always leave a comment on the YouTube channel. Like, comment, subscribe. And boy, do we have some amazing guests who are coming up that are booked for upcoming episodes of our show. For those who are watching live, we have a television and film legend coming up on Monday, Mariette Hartley. Yes, Mariette Hartley is going to be here with her husband and a whole incredible cast of actors and actresses with a very special production that Mariette Hartley and her husband are starring in. The Mariette Hartley is going to be here. Wow. And we appreciate it. And our show continues to reach a lot of people and inspire and entertain a lot of people. And I love that. That was the mission when we started the show 3.5 years ago and 1,020 episodes ago. And Karen says, hi from Toronto. Loved the interview with Alison. Welcome from beautiful Toronto. Karen, we love having you here. Very nice. The sweater is, does it look orange on your screen? It's sort of like a mustard color. Sort of like, it's a very thin, light sweater because the temperatures here are starting to really dip down now. I mean, we've been very, very lucky here on the East Coast and the Northeast. We've had some really warm temperatures. I mean, yesterday was 70 degrees, 72 degrees, late October, early November, 72 degrees. So we were kind of hoping that would stretch out, but it's going to be about 39 tonight. But then it's going to go back up to, I think, in the 60s, later in the week. So that's kind of cool. And Renee says, was a great show tonight. Love, Alison. Come back and see us again, Renee, watching in Iowa, USA, the breadbasket. And for those of you who are watching this not live, you're watching this in the archives later. We value and thank you. We thank you very much and send thanks to you because it's beautiful that you're here as well. We do the shows, most of them live, if not all of them live, but many of you watch later on in the archives. You just discover us, and I think that's so cool. We love having you here as well. Yes. Temperatures in the 40s today, Kathleen, in New York City. Yeah, and you want the temperatures warm for when you make your East Coast visit. It's cold in Allentown, Pennsylvania, where Jen Barry is. Chilly there in the mountains of Allentown, Pennsylvania. And gang, thanks to everybody for all these great comments here. Just so much action happening here. Jane in Sweden and Kathleen and all of you. So this was cool. Did you enjoy yourself? Let us know. Drop a comment. Give us a like, thumbs up, all the rest. And we'll keep working hard to entertain, inspire you, and have a good time right here in Levity Hall at the Jim Masters Show Live, Entertainment Lifestyle Celebrity Talk Show series. We thank our very special guest, the incomparable Alison Arngrim, returning to the Jim Masters Show Live series. We loved having her here. A lot of fun. Not only a lot of levity, but some deep conversation. And we talked about, of course, the show, House of the Prairie, but we also talked about a lot of other things that she's involved in her life. And I love that one-woman show she's doing. It's just, that sounds really fantastic. I got to catch that. That's what I was asking, what her tour schedule is. But of course, we know her from this series and so much more. And it was so nice to have her back. And, many of our guests, we have such a good time with them. They always ask when can they come back, or we're always able to welcome them back to our show. So we try to create a warm, fun, conversational talk show style environment. These aren't interviews. These are conversations with all you guys here. Unique and something a little different. So then and now, Alison Arngrim. And there's a cool. Isn't that cool? There's the book again. I'm going to show it to you right now. 3, 2, 1. There it is. You can get it on Amazon and all the rest. Cool conversation about her mother, who is the voice. Alison Arngrim's mother is the voice of Gumby, Casper the Friendly Ghost, Davey from Davey and Goliath, and Polly Purebred from Underdog. Those voices that you hear in those legendary cartoon series, and the stop action animation, which is the Art Clokey series, Davey and Goliath and Gumby and Pokey, that is Alison's mom. There's Alison there on the left, and there's her mom. So when you hear Casper the Friendly Ghost, it's Alison Arngrim's mother doing that voice. And there's her parents. Her father was a Broadway star and so much more, and her mom, her in voiceover artist. Really, really cool. So good stuff. Really, really good stuff. And, the cast still gets together, which is really, really nice. And we just loved having her here on the show. So with that said, Nellie Oleson sends her love. And so does Alison, and so does Jim Masters. This was a fun show and a little chat. I like having this little chat after the show with all of you, instead of just ending the show. It's nice to have this little chat. Snow in Minneapolis already? Oh, really? I'm headed to Minnesota for a big television project right after Thanksgiving. And you've already got snow in Minneapolis. They did say for the TV shoot, pack a heavy coat and long johns. And we're going to be going to Minneapolis, St. Paul, but then we're going to be going 3 hours north towards Canada. Wow. We may have to bring snowshoes, hopefully not shovels, but thanks for that weather update, Timothy. Snow already in Minneapolis, and I'm going about a month from now for a television shoot project, hosting and all that fun stuff that I do professionally. So if you enjoy what we do here, let us know, interact with us. And it's always a blessing to have you here. So check out episodes you may have missed. There are tons of them. There's a lot of great conversations, guests, and entertainment that we've had and continue to have for all of you. Thanks for all these comments. I guess we are going to put a button and a bow on this episode with the wonderful Alison Arngrim. We thank her. We thank all of you. This is your host, Jim Masters. Thanking you for your time. This time till next time, we shall return with another great guest and lots more. And we appreciate you stopping by. the Jim Masters Show Live series and come see us again. We'll keep the porch light on for you as well, as I always say, for all of our illustrious guests. Take care of one another, love one another, be good to one another, and take time and take care of yourself. It's important to do that. And come back and see us. If you're with us all the time, thank you. If this was your first time, thank you. Come back and see us. You can also find me on all the social media at Jim Masters TV, on Twitter, which is now X, Facebook, as well as Instagram. Come say hi there as well. Many of you have done that. We thank you for that as well. Good group of people watching this show. That's you. Thanks for doing that. We'll see you again on the next one. Take care and be well. And cheers.